They say the dead can't hurt you. But in the basement of St. Augustine Hospital, I learned they can do something far worse. It was supposed to be a simple overnight shift. I just started working as a security guard at St. Augustine Hospital, a place known for its long history and unsettling rumors. My post that night was in the basement where the old morgue was. Most of the staff avoided it after dark. The newer wing had a modern, brightly lit morgue on the third floor. But this one was where they kept overflow. Bodies that didn't have paperwork yet. Unclaimed ones. When I first walked in, the air felt colder than anywhere else in the building. Not the kind of cold from an AC vent. This was damp, clinging, almost like it was wrapping itself around me. The only light came from a single buzzing fluorescent tube. The silence was oppressive. No distant chatter from the nurses. No hum of machines. Just the faint, slow drip, drip, drip of water somewhere in the darkness. I did my first patrol, checking the heavy steel drawers. Each had a faded white tag with a name, except one. Drawer 13. No tag, no paperwork, just sealed shut. I made a note to ask the night nurse about it later, but she just frowned and said, "That drawer's been locked for years. Don't touch it." Her tone made me think she wasn't joking. By 2:30 a.m., I'd stopped hearing the water drip. Instead, I started hearing something else, a faint scraping sound. Metal on metal. It was coming from drawer 13. I froze. My radio crackled with static, though no one was calling me. The sound got louder, like fingernails dragging along the inside of the steel. I told myself it was just the building settling, but then I heard a thud from inside, followed by 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. I backed away, my flashlight beam trembling across the drawers. The knocking stopped, but the temperature plummeted. I could see my breath now, curling in the faint light. At 3 a.m., I heard it, a voice, muffled, desperate. "Let me out." I spun around, sure I was imagining it, but the sound came again, louder, from inside drawer 13. Against every instinct, I stepped closer. My hand hovered over the handle. I swear I could feel heat radiating from it, like something alive was inside. Then, the handle moved on its own. Just a twitch, but enough to send me stumbling backward. I radioed the nurse again, but all I got was static, and underneath it, faint breathing. Not mine, not hers. I turned to leave, but the corridor had grown longer. The exit door seemed impossibly far away, the walls pressing in, the shadows stretching toward me. The drawers began to rattle, all of them, metal clanging, tags fluttering to the floor. But drawer 13 slid open. Something stepped out. Not climbed, not rolled, stepped. It was a man, or what was left of one, skin pale and torn, eyes clouded, jaw hanging slightly loose as if broken. He tilted his head at me and smiled. I bolted, sprinting toward the door, but every time I looked back, he was closer. Not running, just appearing. When I finally burst into the stairwell, the door slammed shut behind me so hard it echoed for minutes. The nurse found me upstairs, pale and shaking. I told her what I saw. She didn't even blink. She just said, "That's why we don't open drawer 13. The last guard who did never made it upstairs." I quit that night. But sometimes, when I'm trying to sleep, I still hear it. 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. I've worked as an orderly at St. Vincent's Hospital for almost 7 years. Nights are quiet, too quiet sometimes. My shift starts at 11 p.m., when most of the world is asleep, and the only sounds in the halls are the hum of the lights and the occasional beep of a heart monitor. But tonight, I got assigned to the morgue. It's not my usual job. The morgue is tucked away in the far basement, behind 2 heavy steel doors. I've always avoided it, not because of the dead, but because of the feeling. Everyone who works here talks about it, how the air feels thick, like you're breathing in something that doesn't want you there. I took the elevator down alone. The ride felt longer than usual. When the doors slid open, the hallway was pitch black, except for a flickering light over the morgue entrance. Inside, the cold hit me instantly. My breath fogged the air. I had one job: transfer a recently deceased patient to the holding drawer until the morning. She was an elderly woman, her face pale but strangely peaceful. The tag around her toe read, Helen Monroe, age 82. I wheeled the gurney to the far end, opened drawer number 12, and slid her inside. The metal made a deep, hollow echo that seemed to ring longer than it should. I was halfway to the door when I heard it. A sound, 3 sharp knocks, coming from inside the drawer. I froze. My ears rang in the silence. Then another knock, louder. I told myself it was my imagination. Air pressure, metal contracting in the cold. That's all. But then I heard something that made my stomach drop. A faint, raspy voice, whispering my name. Daniel. I couldn't move. My skin felt like ice. My mouth went dry. Then came the scraping, a slow, metallic drag, like nails against the inside of the drawer. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I took a shaky step back toward the gurney. The voice came again, clearer this time. It's so dark. Let me out. Every instinct screamed to run, but my feet carried me forward. My hands were trembling so violently I could barely grip the drawer handle. I pulled it open an inch. It was empty. No Helen Monroe, no body bag, just the dark, cold metal interior. And then, from behind me, a whisper, right against my ear. I'm behind you. I spun around. Nothing. Just rows of sealed drawers. That's when I saw it. Drawer number 7, slowly sliding open on its own. I didn't wait. I bolted out of there, slamming the morgue doors shut behind me. I never went back down again. And I still don't know what happened to Helen Monroe's body. But sometimes, when the hospital is quiet at night, I swear I can still hear 3 knocks coming from the basement. I should have never taken that job. I should have walked away the moment I stepped through those rusted hospital gates. But the money was good, and now I'm not sure I'll ever be able to leave. When I first heard about the night security job at St. Aldrich's Hospital, I thought it was easy money. The place had been shut down for over 30 years. They said it was because of funding issues, but people in the neighborhood whispered another story, one about experiments. It was a stormy evening when I arrived for my first shift. The rain clung to my jacket, and the air smelled of rust and mildew. The main entrance was chained shut, so I used the side door, the one that groaned like something alive when I pushed it open. Inside, the darkness felt heavy. The smell was worse, like damp earth and something faintly metallic, almost like blood. The job was simple. I was to walk the halls twice a night, check each wing, and make sure no one had broken in. The power had been cut years ago, so I relied on my flashlight. Its beam looked small and weak against the shadows stretching down the corridors. I started in the East Wing. Old wheelchairs sat abandoned in the halls, their wheels frozen in place by rust. Faded patient charts still hung from broken doors. Some rooms looked like they'd been left in a hurry. Bed sheets half pulled off, IV stands still standing next to them. I remember thinking, if this place was so empty, why did it feel like I was being watched? It happened just as I was about to check the last room in the wing. A voice, faint, so faint I thought it might be the wind, but no, it was inside, a whisper, right next to my ear. Help me. I froze. The room was pitch black. I shined my flashlight in. Nothing, just a bed with a torn mattress and peeling paint on the walls. I tried to laugh it off, telling myself it was my imagination, but my skin crawled like something unseen had just brushed against it. Hours passed. I'd almost convinced myself I imagined it. Almost. I was in the central hallway when I heard them. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Approaching from behind me. I turned. Nothing. The hallway stretched into darkness. I started walking faster. The footsteps followed. Every time I stopped, they stopped. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to show fear. But the pressure in the air grew thicker, and I swore the shadows were moving along the walls. By 3 a.m., I reached the children's ward. I didn't want to go inside, but it was part of my route. The doors creaked open, and my flashlight beam cut through rows of tiny beds. Faded toys lay scattered across the floor. A mobile hung from the ceiling, spinning slowly though there was no wind. That's when I heard it. The giggle, high-pitched, right in the middle of the ward. I shined my light there and froze. A small shadow darted behind one of the beds. I moved closer, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. When I leaned over to check, the bed was empty, but on the wall, written in what looked like dark, dried stains, were the words, "We never left." The rest of the night was a blur of fear. Shadows moved at the edge of my vision. Whispers called my name from different rooms. I could feel cold breath on my neck, but every time I turned, nothing. At 5 a.m., I stood in the lobby, counting the minutes until sunrise. That's when I saw them. Dozens of figures, pale, emaciated, standing at the far end of the hall, staring at me. Their mouths moved in unison, whispering something I couldn't understand. Then, one stepped forward. Its eyes were nothing but black voids. It smiled, wide, unnatural, and in a voice that rattled through my bones, it said, "You're one of us now." The lights flickered, and they were gone. That was 3 nights ago. I quit the job. I told myself I'd never go back. But every night, when I close my eyes, I see that hallway. I see their faces, and sometimes, in the dark, I still hear the whisper, "Help me." I've lived in this old apartment building in Chicago for over 3 years now, and in all that time, I thought I'd gotten used to its quirks. The creaky pipes, the flickering hallway lights, the way the air feels colder near the stairwell. But what happened last week changed everything. And now, every time I walk past those stairs, I feel like something is watching me. When I first moved in, I was desperate. Rent in Chicago was ridiculous, and this place was cheap, too cheap. The landlord barely said 2 words during the showing, just handed me the keys and told me stairs are off limits past midnight. I thought it was a joke. What kind of rule is that? But I shrugged it off. I had bigger things to worry about, like unpacking my life into this tiny 1-bedroom and trying to forget my last breakup. It was my 3rd night there when I first heard it. I was lying in bed, scrolling on my phone, when I caught this faint tap, tap, tap coming from the stairwell. At first, I figured it was a neighbor, but the sound didn't match footsteps going up or down. It was slow, deliberate, like someone was just standing there, waiting, shifting their weight. Curiosity got the better of me. I cracked my door open and peeked out into the hallway. And that's when I saw her. A woman, standing perfectly still on the third step. Her hair was black and matted, hanging over her face. She wore this long, pale nightgown that looked wet. She didn't move, didn't look at me, just stood there, like a statue. I blinked, and she was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just the empty stairwell, and the air, colder than before. The next morning, I asked the landlord about her. He froze mid-sip of his coffee. "You didn't go near her, did you?" he asked. I laughed nervously. "Who, that woman on the stairs?" His face turned pale. He told me, years ago, a tenant named Evelyn lived on the 4th floor. She had this habit of wandering the halls at night in her sleep. One night, she fell right down that stairwell, broke her neck instantly, but some tenants swear they still see her after midnight. Sometimes she just stands there, other times she follows. He told me never to talk to her, never to get closer than 3 steps, and whatever I do, never let her reach the top. It happened last Friday. The power went out during a storm, and I had to take the stairs down to check my breaker box in the basement. The stairwell was darker than usual, my flashlight catching dust motes floating in the air. I was halfway down when I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. I turned and there she was, closer this time, only 4 steps below me, her wet gown sticking to her thin frame, her head tilted slightly as if listening for something. My chest tightened. I remembered the landlord's words, never closer than 3 steps. So I backed up, slow. But my heel caught the edge of the step, and I stumbled. By the time I steadied myself, she was 2 steps away, and this time I saw her face. Her skin was grayish blue, waterlogged, and her eyes, oh God, her eyes were wide, but the pupils were so small, they looked almost gone. I bolted up the stairs, but every step I took, I heard hers, right behind mine. I reached the top landing, threw myself into the hallway, slammed my apartment door shut, and just stood there, heart pounding in my throat. 3 nights later, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. Someone was knocking on my door. 3 slow knocks. I didn't answer, but then, from the hallway, I heard it. Tap, 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 coming from the stairwell. Something in me snapped. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and opened the door just a crack. The hallway light flickered, and there she was, standing at the top of the stairs, looking right at me. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then, she took a step forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. She didn't stop. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't just standing on the stairs anymore. She was in the hallway. And she was coming for me. If you ever find yourself in a building with a rule about the stairs after midnight, don't ask questions. Don't look. And for the love of God, don't let her reach the top. This is Echo and Ash Stories. If you want more true horror, nightmares, and things better left in the dark, subscribe now. Because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that really happened.